about politics. More specifically, as we get closer to the GFA elections, it has become de rigueur and normal to hear media colleagues saying that they are for this candidate and for this candidate and for this candidate. We put it to Lepowura, and he's saying that it's not too professional, and so on and so forth. George Addo Jr. is with me as well.
Yeah.
We've been doing the questioning, and what I was asking Lepowura is that international best practice, you take, for example, the New York Times and the Economist. It is very normal for them, before the 2016 elections, they say, I am for Hillary. And the Economist put it on their front page. They write an editorial explaining why they go for this candidate. The New York Times have had a tradition for more than 100 years where they do that because they feel that they as journalists understand the issues better. And if they can be a conscience for the nation, it will be the best. Alhaji, don't you think that some of our colleagues are also feel same, that if they take a position like that, they can better inform the people about who to back?
The difference in all this is that these big papers and media that you mentioned, they are being sponsored financially.
Okay.
That's the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
So whoever is supporting, somebody says supporting candidate A, it means some money has been put there and it's allowed. The system allows it that you should fund them. And so once you are funding, then
he who calls the piper calls the tune.
Called the tune. So like Trump has his money, and everybody now knows that CNN don't want him for anything.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that he's Fox, so it means his money is going to Fox.
Yeah.
It is quite obvious. So that is possible. If that is done only in politics, but it's not done in sports, because in sports you are looking for the best performance. So you not get up now and say I'm Sky Sports and I'm supporting this
country. Yeah.
It is not likely. So let's leave our sports clean as it is and leave the politics out of it.
You see, my take is an interesting one. You see, once you're a human being,
you're going to have an opinion.
You would have an opinion, and you have associations, so it's fine. It's perfect. It's fine that you want to support somebody or want to. But when you are a media man, then now or a professional journalist in the space, when you're in this jacket, it's Joy FM, then you have to be careful about how you go about it. Because remember that it's not only your candidates, the one who is actually contesting. The other candidates will be expecting fairness, which is your core job from you. So you have to conduct yourself in a manner that your position is not really compromised, and that people will watch you and not think that, oh, anything he says about this guy is negative or anything he says about this guy is positive. You just have to do your job anyway. And that if your candidate errs along the way, you have to provide the same platform as well and make that available for people to go at him, and you must also go at it. All I want us to do in Ghana, and I think an area we need to improve vastly in, is we have to try to deal with issues and not personalities. That's it. You can deal with issues. I don't want you calling a sports minister a thief. You can accuse the sports minister of misappropriation of funds. Now that makes a lot of sense. So when we take it out of the context of dealing with personalities and wanting to deal with issues, it makes things easier. We all have a candidate. We all have it, of course. If your wife was standing for a position, you want to support her. But the point is that you have to create an environment that augurs well for fairness. And that's what we stand for. That's what Joy News stands for. That's what Joy FM stands for. And of course, the whole multimedia group.
Right. I must say that this extraordinary Congress has also been predicated by several issues that will keep on being discussed after. One thorny one, and I would like Lepowura to address, has been the issue of the integrity check. From a FIFA level, as you know, because of everything that happened with Sepp Blatter and all that, there came a time when there was an insistence that any candidate who was going through to certain positions will be scrutinized by the ethics committee with what they call the integrity check. They are going to look inside your past, previous administrations, previous portfolios that you held, how you conducted yourself, to see if you come into the current position or whatever you are aiming for with a clean sheet, so that you don't impugn on the image of that. Some have said that having an integrity test for all the presidential candidates who will come is necessary. Others have had a contrary view. I'd like to know from you, Lepowura, about the integrity test that, some are mooting for the Normalization Committee to put as part of the procedures for the upcoming elections? Is it important?
My feeling is that it would tear the system down the middle, because anything that you talk about integrity tests here and there could be very, very subjective. It will hardly be objective. And whoever are serving as members could be influenced. At the moment, yes, everybody knows my political party. I'm a chief. I can't say it on live
TV.
Broadcast,
sure.
But everybody knows where I stand. But then there are stories here and there about government interest in whoever is going to come. It's in the media. It's there that some people are not wanted to serve as the next chairman of the GFA. If it happens that anybody is excluded, the impression out there might be that there is some interest from government or the sports minister. That is why it is so. Only last week, the sports minister issued a statement saying that he doesn't support.
Again, it was in response to media reports.
Exactly. Yeah. So as soon as we have this integrity test, there's going to be a problem, especially because it is not in CAF. CAF do not have it. So why would we insist on it? Let the people have their own way of integrity. If anybody has had an issue for which he is not qualified, the court should say so. A committee of inquiry or committee should say so. Once it is stated that way, nobody will get up and say he's going to contest when he is being prosecuted by either a committee of inquiry or a court of competent division. Let's leave it at that level, so that if anybody is contesting and another person is unhappy, he goes back to court to say, no, this man has done ABCD, he does not qualify. Let's use the court.
But Alhaji, let me not. I mean, we are talking about football matters here, and we know what FIFA's stance on football issues and the courts are. So it will be a bit odd for us to say that, for example, all the people we saw in the Anas video who may want to stand for the office of the GFA president will fail an integrity test. We should take them to court. As we know, FIFA frowns on, you know, the state machinery or the judicial system getting involved in that. And so that is why people will say that the internal mechanisms of Ghana Football's administration, which is the ethics committee, should look into it. Don't you think? It will be very difficult to say that, oh, maybe George Afriye and Kurt and Osei Palmer and Anam and Fred Papu should be taken to court so that we look at all the issues there to determine whether they have integrity or not. Don't you think so, Alhaji?
No, I'm talking about court with respect to if any individual feels aggrieved, but not that anybody must pass through a court. No, that's not possible.
Okay.
But if anybody feels aggrieved that somebody is contesting that he does not qualify.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, a court system, to me, will be fairer than any ethics committee.
Okay.
Because that person would have been equally qualified or more qualified to determine who should do this or who should do that. A committee of inquiry established by government and which has a report and a white paper definitely would have been looked at critically by everybody of importance, and then anybody who is being precluded would have been rightly put aside. And therefore, my feeling, my beef on this is that we should not do anything where an individual or two or three people on their own can come out and without proper analysis say that Mr. ABC should not contest. In the event that is done, at least with these particular elections that are forthcoming, it will lead to a whole lot of confusion because people are already suspicious that attempts are being made to keep some people out of the contest.
Okay, so even as we talk about that issue, obviously we are stepping out of matters involving this GFA Extraordinary Congress. Once we have stepped into the matters of election, we must just say that after this Extraordinary Congress, hopefully by the end of today, if everything is agreed upon, they are going to set on the path of an elective Congress. An elective Congress is just a fancy way of saying that an election date will be set, and then we will have the modalities for an election put forward. If that is done, we are going to start seeing more people coming to announce that they will stand for the presidency. As we know, about 3 days ago, Kurt Okreku, the owner and director of Dreams FC, did put out that he wants to stand, made his ambitions known. We do know that Fred Papo also announced on Joy News, incidentally, that he wants to run. George Friye announced at his 50th birthday party that he wants to run. We know that Osei Palmer has not officially come out, but obviously he wants to do so. Now, one of the matters that we were looking at was the integrity test. But once we are on the, on the issue of the presidential election, George,
a quick take on the integrity bit. Now, I agree perfectly with Alhaji, with Lepowura when he says that it's subjective. Now, this is why I think so. In the eyes of the public, who have really no power when it comes to voting, they will do their judgments based on what they see on the internet, based on what they hear from radio. But what they see on the internet and what they hear from on radio is not the be-all and end-all. You cannot try anybody out there because you heard a journalist say he's not good or something. So already, even before we start talking about integrity, people or the public have their own perception about
prejudice view.
Yes, you've also got corporate bodies also have a way to think about it. Yeah. And these days, because of social media, if Gary is contesting for GFA president, I just type Gary L. Smith, and whatever I see, I can decide whether you are this or that. So I'm trying to say, no matter how we look at it, the subjectivity is right in there. People will go and call and talk about white paper, go and talk about commission of inquiry. But you know how we have gone about the commission of inquiry. We have used it when we feel like it favors us. We've left it when we think it won't favor us. And so it's such a murky area. I think to save everybody, we just step out. And the biggest one of all is to tell you, I don't think anybody's ever going to pass an integrity test fully.
Yeah.
So FIFA has its guidelines, and the committee would know how to go about it the FIFA way.
Yeah.
If that is done, it's an authority that has gone through it, and I think from there we can follow it. But it's a very touchy subject because you cannot have finality to any situation. Because even when you think somebody is down, the person can still go to court, the person can cause an injunction. There's so much that can come from it that I think we should allow it to stay the way it is.
Okay, so further background to this is that some of the aspirants to the throne of the GFA presidency have some history with when it comes to this integrity test issue. I mean, as George intimated, but more specifically, some of the candidates were mentioned in the white paper of the Jammeh Commission report. And as Lepowura also intimated, some of the rumors suggest that, you know, because the government would want a certain interest, then it means then that the Jammeh Commission's reports will be thrown at all the candidates to sideline certain people. One other key area has been the area of education as well, and we have not touched on that. We understand that some of the members of the Normalisation Committee who were debating the modalities for any future elections were thinking of putting an educational cap on the elections or on those who would stand for the election. To wit, if you didn't have a master's degree, you couldn't stand. You might have seen that video in the last 2 weeks of Alhaji Grunsa having one of his sound bites,
brilliantly responding to a journalist.
Brilliantly, you know, articulating and giving a quip that he went to Arabic school, so that is school as well. Yeah, you know. So let me come to you on that as well. Educational qualification in this day and age is vitally important because, I mean, as they say, we're in a computer age. Without knowledge, you can't do much. But does education alone involve the classroom education if somebody wants to become the GFA president?
Education is important, but my fear is that anything that is not in line with the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, I don't want to buy it. You don't need a certificate to contest the elections in Ghana. And I know of blank illiterates in the past who have been to Parliament and they succeeded, represented Ayawasu, and they did very well, you know. And therefore, whereas one might need some measure of education to be able to go through memos and the rest, I don't think that it will stand any serious test because at the end of the day, the brains that we use are not entirely brains of academia. You don't need to go to Oxford University or Cambridge to be able to run football very well. Just in the same way as you don't need to go to Oxford or Cambridge before you become president of Ghana.
Sure.
And therefore, I think that they might perhaps include basic education of a sort, but at the master's level, I disagree.
You disagree?
It's an interesting area.
It is.
But you know, because football is a continent on its own, in quotes, and the workings of football.
It's a world on its own.
It's a world on its own because, Gary, you know, the workings of football, it's not anything that you can go to school and learn. You have to be in the system to understand the system.
True.
And I'm sure if they are going to be fair to themselves, members of the Normalization Committee will tell you, even though they had done a lot of work on corporate side, when they got to football, they realized that there were big gaps.
Yep.
Some had to decide to resign and all. There were big gaps going through it. So I think in football, your education is nice, but I don't think that it's necessary to be able to run a football federation, because largely it's about your network, it's about the information you have picked up, having been in the system for some time.
Yeah.
That's why they're always going...
Experiential knowledge.
Yes.
Experiential knowledge.
And it's always important. That's why they're always going for people who have been in the system to understand the system and take over the system.
Yeah.
So for me, it's more about the knowledge that you have gathered within football circles to understand what to touch to get sponsorship, how to go about organizing your federation, knowing what the problems are and attacking it head on because you have had experience going through the channels.
My question to you, George, is we've always, and to Lepowura, we've always decried the lack or absence, total absence of specialists within our game, especially in the areas of, you know, marketing and so on. Is it your contention then that Lepowura, that maybe the leader of Ghana football himself may not need to be a specialist, but those who do the jobs on the various committees must be specialists? That's what you're saying.
Oh, definitely.
That's what you're saying.
And there's one interesting thing that we all forget. Sami Kufuor, who is serving on the committee, you are laughing.
Yeah, I know, his education, But he has a lot of sense.
A lot of it, and he's doing well, very, very well.
Sure.
So let's look at it that way.
Yeah, so
which makes sense.
Which makes sense. So you surround yourself with a specialist, and you give them a mandate, a task. If they can't do it, you fire them because your head is on the line.
The KPIs are there.
KPIs are there. I think that's where we really have to go. Managerial skills. It's not always that you have people who study management coming out to be good managers after all.
I know it's an interesting discussion for those of you at home as well, because I know there are large swathes of you who feel that the leader of a professional body, in this case the Ghana Football Association himself, must be somebody whose weight in academia as much as in the system must be up there.
But Gary,
and I know that some of you may
with our situation in the country, with what masters and PhD and degrees, and, you know, relative to the actual work on the ground,
it doesn't do much.
It doesn't. And I haven't said that don't go for your masters.
No.
Go and do your masters. If you can combine it and make it work out, and let us feel the masters in you, is good. But too many times, the masters is a paper sitting somewhere, and the job is sitting somewhere.
And while we're on this topic, we have recent history once again to guide us. Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, as his name implied, was a good doctor. We saw, I'll leave how you thought his reign went. Kwesi Nyantakyi, we know what his profession was. He was a lawyer. We know how his 13-year reign went. Ohene-Jan, easily one of the most successful we had, was a man of very little formal education, but we saw how much. He's probably the most influential and somebody who has done the most so far. So, final thoughts, are we leaving then?
Yes, just about it, but I think it's fine. Lepowura, I think it's fine that we allow the system to bring out its students who have gone through it. And we have quite a number of them who have gone through the ranks.
So we'll break into our transmission now. We've been doing the talking and breaking it down for you here. Let's go and see live pictures of what we understand is the voting process. We understand it's going to be a unanimous decision. Let's get the details now live from inside the hall.
I told you there'll be a solution.
Right.